It is my privilege to extend heartiest welcome for today's function on behalf of Central Hindu Military Education Society's Boston Military College on the occasion of 148th birth anniversary of our beloved founder, Dr. B.S. Munje. I extend my heartiest welcome to Professor Dr. Nitin R. Karmalkar, Vice Chancellor of Savitribai Phule Pune University, Chairperson of today's function, Major General Shihir H. Mahajan, SM, VSM, retired, Speaker of today's function, Lieutenant General Dattatreya B. Shakhatkar, who is the President of CHME Society, Sri Pramodji Kulkarni, who is Working President of CHME Society, Dr. Dilipji Belgaonkar, General Secretary of CHME Society, Sri Hamant P. Deshpande Sarji, who is the Secretary of CHME Society, Dr. UI Kulkarni, Principal of Boston Military College, everyone of organizing committee member, everyone present in YouTube and Facebook for today's function. To commemorate Dr. Munje's birth anniversary and in an effort to create strategic awareness. Public lectures are being organized from 12th to 15th December this year. And today is the third day of this series of lecture. Dr. Munje's memorial lecture was introduced in the year of 1991. Since then, many distinguished personalities delivered Munje Memorial Lecture. For recollecting our memories, I would like to inform this audience. We organized National Congress for Defense Studies in the year 1992 and again in the year of 2002. The then Defense Minister Honorable Sharad Pawar and George Fernandez delivered lecture as chief guest. Our President Pranab Mukherjee had come at that time when he was the chairperson of the Planning Commission. GOC in C Southern Command, Lieutenant General Kalkat, Vice Admiral Manohar Auti, Jaswant Singh, Member of Parliament, and many distinguished personalities enlightened us with their vast knowledge and experiences on this special day. Our founder, Dr. Balkrishna Shibra Munje, a social reformer and a great visionary, understood the importance of military education before independence. His vision was to encourage and motivate youth to join in the armed forces through rigorous military training. His motto for military education was power of knowledge and knowledge of power. He believed that the responsibility of defending motherland has to be borne by everybody. In view of this, CHME Society's official always extended helping hand for creating security awareness among students and general public on various national and international issues. Today's function is in this direction to create general awareness on a very important topic. Now I would like to request Sri Milind Ji Vaidyaji, Vice Chairman of CHME Society, to speak about CHME Society.
Good evening. Honorable Professor Dr. Nitin R. Karmalkar, Vice Chancellor, SPPA, Savitribai Phule, Pune University, Chairperson of the Day, Honorable Major General Shihir Mahajan, SM VSM Retired, Speaker of the Day, Honorable members of CHME Society, all unit heads and staff of CHME Society units. Good evening all. I am Milind Suresh Vaidya, Vice President of CHME Society Nasik Division. Welcome you all on the auspicious occasion of 148th birth anniversary celebration of late Dharamveer Dr. B.S. Munje. Our founder, Dr. B.S. Munje, made an epoch-making contribution in founding the Central Hindu Military Education Society, our parent body, in the year 1935. Though doctor by profession, he was well versed in the Shastras and was an active participant in politics. He participated in the Boer War of Africa in 1899 and actively contributed in various movements like Simon Commission, budget provision for defense, and other social reforms. Dr. Munje knew that the right path to independence of India was by empowering its youth in mind and body. Thus came into being the Bhosla Military School in the year 1937. I must emphasize on his dream of military school for girls, and it is evident now CHME Society is proud and the only organization having military school for girls at Rambhumi, Nasik. The society has a long tradition of past students who joined the armed forces or have rendered commendable service to the society in such diverse fields as politics, civil services, and social service. After independence, a new objective was added to the existing one. It was now imperative to preserve the hard-earned independence, to uphold the integrity and sovereignty of India. Men and women were to be encouraged to actively participate in the armed forces and civil services. Together with Bhosla Military School, we too offer preparatory military training to potential young men and women. Our motto is a sound body in a strong body. sound mind in a strong body. We have slowly and steadily evolved a formidable system which in days to come will be a leader for institutions which offer military training like IMA, Dehradun and NDA. Notwithstanding to the limitations of COVID-19 restrictions, CHME Society has always adhered to its commitment of service to the nation and put rigorous efforts in providing education and welfare measures to its students and staff. Though we could not arrange physical lecture series due to ongoing pandemic, but our zeal is in high spirit and same could be mandated through online mode this year. I believe the lecture by Major General Shihir Mahajan, SMVSM retired, on the topic Geostrategy and India's border management in 21st century will be certainly motivational and guiding path for us. Jai Hind.
It is my privilege and honor to introduce today's guest to this audience. Today we have with us Major General Shihir Mahajan, Sena Medal, Vishish Sabha Medal. Major General S.H. Mahajan had his secondary education at Sainik School, Satara. After training at NDA and IMA, he was commissioned in the 14th Battalion, the Maratha Light Infantry on 15th June 1975. During his 38 years of army service, the general officer has served in all the border areas of our country. The general officer is an alumni of the Defense Services Staff College, Wellington, Army War College, Mo, and the National Defense College, New Delhi. Major General Mahajan has seen active service in Jammu and Kashmir, having commanded the 4th Battalion, the Maratha Light Infantry, and a mountain brigade in Assam. For his distinguished service in counter-insurgency operation in Assam, he was awarded Vishish Sabha Medal. The general officer has commanded 23 Infantry Division as part of Strike Corps on the Western Front. For his distinguished service as a Major General Administration of Northern Command, he was awarded Sena Medal. His important instructional assignments include a tenure as an instructor at the Indian Military Academy, Dehradun, and Infantry School, Mo. He has served with United Nations as a military observer in Iran after the ceasefire in the Iran-Iraq War in 1989. The general officer has held important staff appointment at Corps Headquarters, Command Headquarters, Military Operation Directorate, Perspective Planning, Director Military Intelligence Directorate at Army Headquarters. He has served as Director Military Affairs at Disarmament and International Security Affairs Division under the Ministry of External Affairs, Delhi, where he was dealing with arms control of conventional weapons. During this tenure, he attended several meetings at UN Conference on Disarmament, Geneva, Switzerland. The general officer retired from Army War College in January 2013, where he was Commander, Junior Command Wing. Presently, he is the Deputy Director of Center for Advanced Strategic Studies, Pune, which is an organization dealing with national security and nation building. He is also a member of Committee of Experts appointed by the Ministry of Defense. He is a visiting faculty at National Academy of Defense Financial Management, Pune, Competitive Examination Center, Pune University, and Chanik Kamandal Poribar, Pune. Now, may I request our Honorable Speaker, Major General Mahajan sir, to enlighten us with his vast knowledge and experience on the topic is geostrategy and India's border management. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ghosh. Professor Dr. Karmarkar, Vice Chancellor, Pune University, General Sheketkar, Shri Pramod Kulkarni, Dr. Belgaonkar, Dr. Naramne, Shri Milind Vaidya, Dr. Kulkarni, the Principal of Bhosla Military College, Dr. Ghosh, and Major Vikrant, staff and students of Bhosla Military College, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I must thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to join this historical event, that is the memorial lecture for Dr. Dharmavir Dr. Munje. It's a great honor to join the galaxy of great speakers who have been on this event earlier. I have chosen a topic which is of great interest to our national security. And I will be giving a presentation for about 40 minutes. Let me start sharing my screen. It will take a few seconds. Yeah, now here I am sharing my screen. All right. Now, you will see it on your screen. The topic which I've chosen is geostrategy and India's border management in the 21st century. Why this topic? We all must remember that the geographical location of a country has a bearing on its military strategy. And therefore, this strategy obviously will have an impact on your border management. Coming to the 21st century, the world order is slowly changing the 21st century, and this changing world order will also have an impact on the geostrategy as well as the border management, and therefore this topic. Now, let us have a look at the map. You see, India is so well located in Asia and in the Indian Ocean region. You find that India is occupying a very large portion of the Indian Ocean, and it is surrounded on all the three sides by the Indian Ocean. So therefore, we are so lucky to have been endowed with so many ports and such a large coastline. Just imagine Russia. Russia is a very vast country, much bigger than India in size. But still, Russia has got only 3 warm water ports. One in Vladivostok, other one in the Black Sea near St. Petersburg, and the next one in Crimea, which they had captured a few years ago. And therefore, their operations are limited to these 3 ports during the winters. But India is so lucky to have this kind of warm water ports which are available throughout the year. And therefore, this has got a very, very important role to play.
Music or promotional video actually
India's area of interest extends in the west from, I'll just show it with the help of a pointer. In the west, it extends up to the Gulf region. In the east, it goes to the Malacca Strait area. In the north, it is in the area of the Central Asian republics. And in the south, it is the Indian Ocean region. So why do we have interest in areas which are so far off? Well, it is simple. Why our interest is in the Gulf area extends to the Gulf is because we have our oil supplies from the Gulf region. And the Malacca Straits are a very important sea lane of communication through which the important communication of the shipping areas goes. In the north, we have the Central Asian republics, which again give us the energy resources. They are rich in energy resources like gas and oil. And therefore, we have interest there. And the Indian Ocean region obviously gives a free passage for our ships. Therefore, this is our area of interest. And we have a very strategic location in the Indian Ocean region. I remember one of the Chinese scholars had said, and he reminded us, Indian Ocean is not India's ocean. But yes, certainly we will prove to the world that yes, definitely it is, while it may not be India's ocean, but we dominate the Indian Ocean. So that is as far as our area of interest is concerned. And this area of interest now shapes our geostrategy, and therefore the importance of geographical location on the strategy, that is the military strategy of a country. Now let us have a look at our land borders. As far as the land borders are concerned, we have a total of almost 15,000 kilometers of land borders. We share 2 3 kilometers, that is more than 3,000 kilometers with Pakistan, 3,488 kilometers with China, with Nepal, 1,751 kilometers, with Bhutan, which is the smallest border, 699 kilometers, with Myanmar, it is 1,643 kilometers, and with Bangladesh, it is 4,097 kilometers. Now, if you see carefully, you will find that although Bangladesh is comparatively a smaller country, but we have the largest border is with Bangladesh, 4,097 square kilometers, kilometers. And when we come to Bangladesh specifically, by looking at the map, you will get to know why we have so much of border with them. And whereas China, which comes number 2 as far as the size of the border is concerned, it is 3,488 kilometers, slightly lesser than Bangladesh. So we have a very large amount of border which we are required to manage or required to guard. And our land borders total up to almost 15,000 kilometers. That's a very, very large area that we have to guard. Now, let us see as to, subsequently I'll come as to how do we manage this border very broadly. Now let us see, let us have a look at who all guard this border during peacetime and before the operations commence. First of all, the Pakistan border is managed by VSM during peacetime. Then we have the Chinese border, which is guarded by ITBP. Then we have the Nepalese border by the SSB. SSB stands for Sashastra Seema Bal, and ITBP stands for Indo-Tibetan Border Police. Remember, the Indo-Tibetan Border Police was founded in 1962 after our war with China. Next, we come to Bhutan, where the border again is guarded by Sashastra Seema Bal. With Myanmar, also known as Burma, it is guarded by the Assam Rifles. And with Bangladesh, it is the BSF which is guarding the border. And why I have highlighted Bangladesh is because Bangladesh is our largest extending border with any country. And we follow the principle known as one border, one force. What is the meaning of one border, one force? It means that for one border during peacetime, we employ only one central armed police force for it or paramilitary force for it to ensure that there is better coordination. Now, this is as far as the border guarding forces are concerned. So what happens is that during peacetime, these areas, that is our border areas, are guarded by the Central Armed Police Forces. And behind them, we have our armed forces who are deployed at suitable place in the border management posture. And whenever there's a requirement, when there is an external aggression, the armed forces, the remaining armed forces will mobilize from their areas in the hinterland and move to the required borders where they're required to fight. So this is how, very broadly, we manage our border. So therefore, the armed forces have a very close coordination with the border guarding forces, which is the BSF, the ITBP, the Sashastra Seema Bal, the Assam Rifles, and the BSF. Now, let us see a little further. I am talking about the maritime areas also, although I'm going to spend my time only on the border management of the land borders, but we cannot forget the maritime areas. Why? Because we have a very large coastline and it has an impact on our strategy, that is our military strategy. Just have a look at this. We have a large coastline of 7,516 kilometers, that is 7,516 kilometers, which is almost 50% of our land border. Then we have an exclusive economic zone of 2.01 square kilometers, and it increases to 2.5 million square kilometers when we take into account the continental shelf, which is 350 nautical miles. So therefore, that is the kind of coastal area and the continental shelf that we have. Now let us have a look at our island territories. We have the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, which is about 1300 kilometers away from our coastline, that is our mainland. And then we have on the west, we have Lakshadweep and Minicoy Islands, which is 450 kilometers on our western coast, to the west of our coast. So therefore, just remember that the Andaman Nicobar Islands play a very, very important role in our military strategy for the security of our nation. It is also known as the unsinkable aircraft carrier. Nobody can sink Andaman and Nicobar. That's why it's called the unsinkable aircraft carrier. Then coming on to our regional security environment, which means let us have a look at the countries which are in our neighborhood, because these countries have a great impact on the environment in our area. Let's have a look at Asia. The rise of China and India have made Asia as the center of gravity. So now the center of gravity of the world has shifted to Asia. The continent itself has a very high economic potential. Later on, I will show you as to how much of economy is contributed by these two giants in Asia. We are the largest consumers and also sources of energy. The world's largest army, needless to say, China and India have a large amount of armed forces. The defense spending also is equally high. Well, number of nuclear states, China, Pakistan, India, not to forget the Korea, that is the DPR, that is North Korea. And what is troubling us is terrorism. We have the fountainhead of terrorism in Asia. Well, there are no guesses for this. We all know where the fountainhead lies. Now here I'm showing you a chart which shows the population of various countries by size. Now have a look at this. Have a look at the population of China and India, which are part of Asia, Indonesia, and Pakistan. So therefore, if this is the entire population of the world, and so much is contributed by Asia, obviously, we have a very large share of population of the world staying in Asia, and therefore, the center of gravity in Asia. Now let us look at another chart. This tells you the world economy at one place. Have a look at this. United States is number one, contributes 24.4% of the economy of the world. China comes at number two, 15.4. Japan with 6.13. Germany, number four. And then comes India. So therefore, see, China, India, and the rest of the countries in Asia, how much they contribute towards the world economy. You can see from this chart itself that we are significant contributors to the world economy. And therefore, taking the population and the size of the economy of China, India, and other major countries of Asia, you see the kind of contribution which is there for the world by Asia. Now, the epicenter of terrorism lies in Asia, and these are the two countries. That is, of course, this is the fountainhead, and Afghanistan, unfortunately, because of the Taliban being there and Al Qaeda, these two countries have a large amount of terrorists, and this terrorism is being exported from here to all other countries as indicated by these arrows. Let us see our extended neighborhood. I'll just go one by one. West Asia, where you have Syria, Israel, and other countries, Palestine. The region is very, very volatile. Afghanistan, again is very volatile because of the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, the Central Asian republics because of the mineral rich and the energy rich resources is very important. Southeast Asia has a very vibrant economy. And then the Indian Ocean region is of great importance to all the countries of the world because of the trade which passes through this. Let us have a look at our immediate neighborhood. What I talked earlier about was the extended neighborhood. Now let us see our immediate neighborhood. See Pakistan, which is unstable at the moment. China, which has become very assertive. Nepal, which is stabilizing as of now. Bhutan is peaceful. Myanmar, which is evolving and trying to move towards democracy, and that is a limited democracy. Bangladesh, which has a very promising future. And Sri Lanka, which is now making a steady progress. So this is our immediate neighborhood, which has an impact on our national strategy, that is the national security strategy. And see the kind of influence which China has on Nepal, Bhutan, also Myanmar, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka. I'll come to this one by one when we talk about these countries initially. But China has had a very growing influence on all these countries which are in our immediate neighborhood. Let's come to China. We share 3,488 kilometers long border with China. We have very significant trade and economic relations with China. The trade is in favor of China. There's a trade deficit we have, that is, we are importing more from China than they are importing from us. Our unresolved borders is a very major issue between the two countries. We've had a border peace and tranquility agreement and also confidence building measures. However, we know what has happened to this agreement in the recent past. The People's Liberation Army is being modernized and they have a very large budget. And China has become very assertive as of now in the world order, and it has planned this BRI, which stands for Belt Road Initiative, in which they want to replicate the erstwhile Silk Route throughout the world. And there's a rising anti-China sentiments in Tibet because of the kind of coercion that they're having and the Hanization of Tibet that they're carrying out. That is, they are inducting a lot of Han population in Tibet. So we have a very large border with China. Let us see how it extends. Now, have a look at the Chinese border. Start from Aksai Chin, Himachal Pradesh, Uttaranchal. After that, it comes to Sikkim. Then it's Bhutan, shares with Bhutan, and then with Arunachal Pradesh. So this area of the border in the area of Arunachal Pradesh is known as the line of actual control, because here the border is not resolved. In Sikkim, there are no disputes as such, so therefore this is an international border. In Uttaranchal, that is along this border, there are some disputed areas. And in Aksai Chin, again, we have the line of actual control, which is in the area of our eastern Ladakh. So therefore, this is the kind of border that we share with China. Now, let us see what all happened with China in the recent past. In 1962, China, before 1962, in the late 50s, that is around 59, 56, 59, around that area, they occupied the area of Aksai Chin in the late 50s and early 60s. And this was occupied by them. After that, they also claim that Arunachal Pradesh is a part of China. And that's why this also is line of actual control. In 1962, we had a war with China. However, you must remember that during this war, it is only our army which took part. The Air Force and Navy were nowhere involved, unfortunately. So therefore, it was a battle which you say, a war which was fought with one hand tied behind your back. In 1967, again there was a skirmish with China in the area of Sikkim. That is our area of our Sikkim. That is in the area of pass, which is very famous over here. That is the Nathula Pass. And we gave them a bloody nose. In 1986, in the area of Sumdorumchu, which I'm indicating here, again there was a skirmish, and the Chinese had to back off after we held our ground over here. So both in 67 and in 1986, we held our ground and we showed China that we mean business, and then of course they had to go back. And recently you are aware what has happened in the Jolam Plateau. This is a blow up of the Jolam Plateau. So you find that during this crisis with Jolam Plateau, which took place 2 years ago, we had a standoff there, and for quite a few days we were there. We held our ground. China tried all its best by using propaganda, by using their global times to accuse India and to threaten India, but ultimately they had to leave, they had to give in. And now you're aware of what has happened recently. Let us see that in eastern Ladakh, that is in the area which is adjoining Aksai Chin, this is the blow up of eastern Ladakh. So you know that this is the area of Leh, Darbuk, Shok, and this Leh, Darbuk, Shok, which road which goes to the Karakoram Pass, and this is the Pangang So Lake, and this is the Galwan River. So on 15th of June, we had this skirmish here in the Galwan, and you know what has happened there. So I'll not elaborate on that. And we held our ground, and we showed the world, and of course to the Chinese, that look, we mean business over here, and therefore this is something which is very well known to all of us. This area is in the news, and presently we are holding our ground here, and the Chinese are also well aware of this. So this is the kind of border that we had to manage. So remember, in this area, that is in our border with China, we have the ITBP, which is managing this border during peacetime. When the operations start, the ITBP, of course, will be along with the army. And where we have the line of actual control, our armed forces, that is our army, is deployed there to take care of this border and to resolve any issues which come up. Now let us move on from this one to Pakistan. With Pakistan, the major issues, we are aware that recently a lot of radicalization and weakening of moderate voices have taken place in Pakistan. And the alliance of the political parties in Pakistan have decided to hold a rally against the present government, that is President Imran Khan government, which they claim is a puppet government of their army. And therefore, these parties have got together, and definitely they are a force to reckon with. So therefore, there is likely to be a turmoil in the near future because of this. The Pakistan government is trying to weaken the moderate forces, and they continue their proxy war against India, and their infrastructure of terrorism is very, very intact across the line of control. Nuclear weapons is a major issue here, a major concern for us, because should they land in the hands of the terrorists who are in Pakistan, then it will become a very, very major concern for the world. And therefore, violence and internal stability is a great problem here in Pakistan. And everybody is saying that, is the present government a puppet of the army? Well, I think everybody knows how it is being manipulated by their army. So as far as our border with Pakistan is concerned, it is the border security force which manages it during the peacetime. In the line of control, we have our own armed forces. Now, in the next map, I'll just elaborate as to how this border looks like. But remember, a stable democratic Pakistan is in India's strategic interest. Now, let us have a look at the border in detail with Pakistan so that you know various terms that we use for our border with Pakistan. This is the Pak occupied Kashmir. That is actually, this is a part of India, but presently occupied by Pakistan. Similarly, Aksai Chin, which is a part of India, which is a part of erstwhile Jammu and Kashmir, now held by China. So let us see how the border looks like. What is marked here in black is the international border. This portion, which is marked in this color, is a line of control, what we call as LC, and this is 813 kilometers in length. This black portion, after you leave the pink portion, when you come to the black portion, this is the AGPL, stands for actual ground position line, which is 124 kilometers in length. This is in the area of the Siachen Glacier. So therefore, international border, which is guarded by our BSF, the line of control, where it is the BSF and our armed forces, which are holding this. Remember, line of control, this term came in 1971 after 71 war. So the place where both the armies held ground and where they stopped fighting after the ceasefire, that is known as the line of control. And therefore, line of control is always in the news, and there's a large amount of infiltration and large amount of firing which takes place here. And in the AGPL, this is the area of the Siachen Glacier. So again, in the AGPL, we have our armed forces, that is army, which is deployed here in the border management posture. Similarly, along the line of control, we have the army, which is in the border management posture. And along the international border, we have the BSF. So this is how we are managing the border here. And again, to remind you, as I spoke earlier, along with China, this is again the line of actual control in the area of Eastern Ladakh, which our army is occupying. Now, this is the current map of the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. So see now what a large portion we have in Ladakh and the comparatively smaller portion of Jammu and Kashmir. Both of these are now Union territories. Let us come to Afghanistan. Now in Afghanistan, both the Taliban and Al-Qaeda are a threat, but comparatively, as far as we are concerned, Taliban is a much bigger threat now. And Pakistan is using Taliban as a strategic asset. And remember that India has constructed a lot of infrastructure and development in Afghanistan. But when the US troops withdraw from Afghanistan, the terrorists who are here are free to move around both in Afghanistan, and you could well find some of them who are out of employment coming to Pakistan and from Pakistan into India to carry out terrorist activities. Why do we consider Afghanistan as a neighbor? Just remember that Afghanistan is our neighbor because Afghanistan shares a border with India in the area of the Wakhan corridor. This is the Wakhan corridor, which has been occupied currently by Pakistan. That is the Pak-occupied Kashmir, where the Wakhan corridor is there. So therefore, if this portion was to be with us and not with Pakistan, then we would have been our neighbors of Afghanistan. And Afghanistan's terrorists have an influence in Kashmir and in the area of Indian borders. Let us see our next neighbor, which is Bangladesh. Now here you see, I mentioned that the largest border that we share with any country is with Bangladesh, because the kind of border which is there, it zigzags everywhere. So When we come to the major issues with Bangladesh, our relations definitely are very positive here. And with our Prime Minister visiting this country last year, where he signed this framework agreement, a lot of issues were resolved. And we have also exchanged the enclaves which were on our side, and similarly the enclaves which of ours which were on the Bangladesh side. These have been exchanged in the interest of both the countries. And there is, of course, a tremendous potential for trade and economic ties. So the future is looking very bright here. And here the border with Bangladesh is managed by BSF during peacetime. And as I said earlier, if there is a requirement, then we have armed forces mobilizing to take care if there's a requirement. Coming to Nepal. Nepal is a neighbor with whom we have very friendly ties for the so many centuries, and it is now slowly moving towards political stability. And but there are major concerns, and one of the major concerns is the border which they have claimed in the area of Limpiadura, Lipulek, and Kalabani. This border dispute has become a major contention recently. And another major concern here is that the Chinese have made inroads into Nepal. If you remember that they have constructed a friendship highway from Pakistan, from China into Nepal. So this is a major concern to us. And the ISI, which is the Inter-Services Intelligence, is now creating a lot of trouble in this area, and they expanded their activities in Nepal. So therefore, our border with Nepal, just remember, is a porous border. People are free to move. There's no requirement for visa. You just require an identity card. But this is a very important border. Because of the Chinese presence, we need to monitor this. And currently, it is the Sashastra Seema Bal which is manning this border. Let us see our next neighbor. Now, before that, let me show you a map of Nepal, which is a wrong map which their country has put up, which of course with the visit of our army chief and our foreign minister, things will definitely improve. And I'm sure that they'll be able to set this right. But these are the areas which Nepal is claiming from us, which of course belong to us and not to Nepal. But I'm sure with the visits of these two dignitaries, things will improve. And currently this border is manned by Sashastra Seema Bal. Coming to Myanmar, so the Myanmar border is manned by Assam Rifles. Remember, Assam Rifles is a paramilitary force. This is the border that we share with Myanmar, and this is manned by Assam Rifles. Assam Rifles is officered by the officers of the Indian Army. That's why it is known as paramilitary force. So, some important issues with Myanmar. It's a gateway to the Southeast Asia, and therefore it is very important for India from the point of view of Look East policy. And the recent positive changes in Myanmar that is moving towards democracy has definitely improved our ties. But however, there's an extensive Chinese footprint in this area. China is definitely trying to help Myanmar by giving them economic help in this region. And this border with Assam Rifles and Indian Army being there on the toes when required is being managed very well. Coming to Sri Lanka. Now Sri Lanka is to our south, but remember, why is it important to us? As far as land borders are concerned, because if you remember earlier, let us see what problems we had with them. While we had cultural and trade ties, remember there's a sizable population of Tamils in this area. And when there was a crisis earlier, a number of years ago, a lot of refugees from Sri Lanka, that is from the northern area of Sri Lanka, came to Tamil Nadu. And therefore, obviously, India had to give a political solution to the Tamil aspirations. And we, of course, we want all these problems to be settled within the framework of Sri Lanka. And we have to focus on the rehabilitation of displaced Tamils and the war victims. So India is now focusing on and assisting in the rehabilitation and reconstruction of Sri Lanka. So presently, while we don't share any land borders, but the closeness of Sri Lanka with our land border of Tamil Nadu definitely needs consideration. Now let us see Iran. Iran, again, we don't share borders with Iran. But remember, Iran is very important because it's a gateway to the Central Asian republics, which are rich in oil resources. So therefore, Iran is very, very important as far as we are concerned. Remember, in Iran, we have developed somewhere in this area the Chabahar Airport, Chahabar Port. Chahabar Port starts and takes us to the north-south transit corridor and then going into Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, and all the Central Asian republics, which are rich in oil resources and energy resources. It also gives us a gateway to go to Afghanistan. Because otherwise, to go to Afghanistan, the only way is through Pakistan. If you want to help Afghanistan, this is the only way. And therefore, the Chabar port is going to be of great importance and great consequence to us. And that this is what we have recently developed. And Uzbekistan has shown a lot of interest in development of this port. Now coming back to our relations with Iran, we have a lot of cultural and historic ties with them. And therefore, Iran has been helping us. But recently, the sanctions which were given by sanctions which were put by United States of America, they created a problem for us. But this was resolved, and we share, rather, we import a lot of oil from Iran, which is almost 12% of our imports or oil. So energy security and connectivity to Afghanistan and Central Asian republics is very crucial for us. Maldives, again, a little away on our, from our western coast, but we share very close and cordial relations with this country. And the recent political upheaval was a problem for us, but now again things are easing out. And there is a certain amount of radicalization, which again we are hoping that things will stabilize, and democracy will definitely find its roots over here. So quick normalization of situation in Maldives is important for our regional peace. Now, let us see our northeastern states. Now here, just remember, we have the seven sisters of the Northeast who share a large amount of border with our neighboring countries. Just remember, this is a very large area, 8% of area, but 4% of our population. That means the population is very, very thin here, particularly in the area of Arunachal Pradesh. The population density is very, very low. And remember, this is a place where we share a border with China. And this is one place where we have very, very less population. Now coming to the northeastern states. Now here I have given out the amount of borders which the northeastern states share with China. Just see that there are these 9 states share a total of 8,251 kilometers of border with various neighbors of ours. So therefore, it is almost 50% of the border with our neighboring countries lies in our northeast, and that's why northeast is so important to us. That means the borders of northeast, which are shared with our neighbors, are very, very important to us. And therefore, here I have highlighted that 63% of our border lies in the northeast of our country. So have a look at this: Sikkim, Meghalaya, Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, Tripura, Mizoram, Tripura, Nagaland. So this is how all the northeastern states are located, and the kind of border that they share. Now, another portion is that while this region is so important, but only 2% of our border of this region, that means they share a large amount of their borders with neighboring countries. But with India, they share only 2% of the border in this area. And this is what we call as the Siliguri corridor, a very, very small corridor which connects the northeastern region to the other parts of India. And that's why the importance of the Siliguri corridor. So after having a look at the northeast, let us see a little bit about the left-wing extremism. And why I'm bringing this here is with a purpose in mind. Just see, I have indicated here that there are 170 districts in 15 states which are affected by the what we call as left-wing extremism. Some call it Maoism, some call it Naxalites. So we will call it left-wing extremism, and it extends right from Bihar, comes to West Bengal, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra. That is in the area of Gadchiroli. We have this. Then comes to Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka. So and going right up to Tamil Nadu. So this is what the red corridor is like, and it goes through the complete jungle area, and this is what we are popularly calling as red corridor. And why this is important is because our central armed police forces are presently deployed here to combat the left-wing extremists. But if our armed forces, that is the army, was to be deployed here, which is to this area is in the interior of our country, and if our armed forces and the army gets deployed over here, it will take a long time for the army to get back to their border areas. And therefore, this will become a major problem. Currently, the army is not involved in this. The army is only giving logistic support for operations in this area. We are not deployed here. That's why keeping the left-wing extremism under control through various measures by government is very, very important to keep our army away from this area. Now, coming to India's national security. What are the cardinals of our security policy? We have no extraterritorial ambitions. We have never made any effort to capture any territory from our neighbors or from any other country. Similarly, we have never exported our ideology to any other country. We are quite happy with our own ideology. We don't propagate this to any other country. So now, what is our national security aim? I have derived this from the Constitution of India. This is to ensure security of borders of the country and a conducive internal and external environment for unhindered social, economic development of India, enabling it to assume its rightful role in the emerging world. National security aim is to protect our national interests. So that is our national aim, that is to protect our national interests. And let's see what our national interests are. First of all, to preserve sovereignty, unity and territorial integrity of India, maintain democratic, secular and federal character of our republic, safeguard nations' existing and emerging strategic, political, economic and military goals in consonance with our national aim, to ensure a stable environment for conducive and unhindered economic growth, and to attain its rightful place in the community of nations by contributing towards the promotion of international peace and security. So these are our national interests which we are required to guard. So what are our defense objectives? First, I would say is to secure national interests as defined by the government. It's our government which will define the national interest. But I have told you some of our national interests earlier. Then to defend our national territory, our shore resources, as well as our maritime resources. Then be prepared to secure an internal environment whereby the nation is ensured against any direct threat to its unity and core values. Then to assist civil authorities in disaster relief, rehabilitation, and other situations whenever called upon. Then to possess effective capability to prevent destabilization in our neighborhood and contribute effectively towards regional stability and international peacekeeping. As you're aware, we send a large amount of peacekeeping force in the United Nations. So these are some of our national defense objectives. So what are the fundamental determinants of our Indian military? The Indian military has multi-front obligations. Remember, we have to look after a number of fronts, whether it is Pakistan, China, or any other front. Then it has to be prepared for a complete spectrum of conflict. That means we have to fight insurgency, we have to fight terrorism, and we have to fight conventional war, and if required, a nuclear war. So this is the kind of wide spectrum that we have to fight, and therefore remember it requires a lot of skills from our armed forces. And also remember that we are not a member of any military alliance. I've highlighted here, we are not a member of any military alliance. We are a non-aligned country. We have defense cooperation with our large number of countries, but we don't have any formal military alliance. And therefore, we have to fight our own battle. And that's why we have to fight, we have to be prepared to fight wherever it is required. So when people raise this question as to why do we have such a large amount of armed forces, aren't they a drain on our economy? Then, well, we must tell them, look, we are not a member of any military alliance. We have to fight our own battles. Nobody is going to come and help us when there's a requirement. And then therefore, the armed forces are an insurance policy for India. And therefore, there is no shortcut but to have a large amount of armed forces. Now, coming to our nuclear deterrence, we have a fair amount of credible minimum nuclear deterrence, which is our policy. What I'm stating here is our official nuclear policy. A credible minimum nuclear deterrence is important for regional security because we are aware that this region has got a number of nuclear states. We believe in no first use. That means we will not be the first ones to use a nuclear weapon. And we will not use it against non-nuclear states. Remember that we have a voluntary unilateral moratorium on nuclear testing. But so our first test was held in 1974. I remember that time I was a cadet in the National Defense Academy, and when we had our first peaceful nuclear explosion, that was somewhere in Pokhran in the year 1974 under the leadership of our Prime Minister. And this was in 1970s. So therefore, the second explosion was in 1998, again for testing. But after that, we have had a moratorium. We have not conducted any other tests after that. And the most important aspect is that this nuclear arsenal of ours is under civilian control. It is our civilian leadership which controls our nuclear arsenal. So this is in short our nuclear policy. And with this, I will come to the end of my presentation. But I would like to add over here and to say that, look, how can the citizens contribute to national security? Well, the slide here in front of me says it all. Want to do something for a soldier? Be a citizen worth fighting for, which means that you must be a good citizen. Obviously, a good citizen will make his own contribution to the security of a country, and definitely that will motivate our soldiers to lay down their lives for a country. So much for the geostrategy and our border management in the 21st century. Remember that When we talk about border management, first of all, in peacetime, we have the Central Armed Police Forces who guard our borders, where we have the line of control, which is in certain areas of our border with Pakistan. It is our army which is deployed there, and with our border with China, where we have the line of actual control, again we have our army deployed there. And then we have our armed forces who are in our interior areas. And whenever there's a requirement, if there be an external threat, the armed forces will mobilize and go to the border area, and we'll do everything that is required to see that our national integrity remains good. And that is how the border management is done in the present century by our Central Armed Police Forces and by our armed forces. And now with this, I would come to my the end of my presentation. Jai Hind. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, General Mahajan, sir, for your very informative lecture. Thank you very much. May I request you to please, thank you, sir. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce today's chairperson, Professor Dr. Nitin Karmarkar, sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Savitribai Phule Pune University, Pune. Sir is a former head of Department of Environmental Science and Department of Geology. He is a well-known scientist in the field of igneous petrology. He has the experience of teaching for 25 years and more than 30 research publications in various national and international journals. Sir has worked with various research collaborators from Australia, France, and Germany. He has received Professor C. Naganna Gold Medal of the Mineralogical Society of India. He has also acted as a Vice Chancellor of Solapur University, Solapur for some period. Savitribai Phule Pune University is fast emerging as a premier institute of higher education at the national as well as international level under his proficient and dynamic leadership. So we are very honored to have him as a chairperson. So may I request you to please launch our e-paper of Central Hindu Military Education Society's Rashtra Prahari. May I request you to please declare that you launched the e-paper Rashtra Prahari. Dr. Karmarkar, sir. May I request Dr. Karmarkar, sir, to please on his video and unmute him. Okay. May I request General Mahajan, sir, to please announce that this Rashtra Prahari e-paper is launched now.
Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me a great pleasure to launch the e-paper Rashtra Prahari.
May I request our technical team to please launch Rashtra Prahari on online. Rashtra Prahari is a quarterly newsletter of Central Hindu Military Education Society, which includes the internal events of all the units of Central Hindu Military Education Society. This is the second edition, which includes reports of all units, particularly lockdown period.
मी तासभर बसून काय उपयोग नाही. Can you unmute? Can you just unmute Karmarkar sir, please?
Aditya ji?
Can you unmute Karmarkar sir, please? Host, can you do this?
Aditya ji?
लॉग आउट करून लॉग इन करते.
Okay.
लीव करते हैं मीटिंग.
There is a technical difficulty from our end to unmute Karmalkar sir. Could you please, ma'am, hand over your camera and yes, ma'am. Thank you.
त्याच्यावरून बोल.
काय
त्याच्यावरून बोल.
नाही, चालू आहे का हे? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I'm sorry, there's some problem. I was
Yeah.
on mute both video as well as the audio part. Indeed, it was a very interesting and very exhaustive kind of a lecture, speaking about all different borders that encircle the Indian subcontinent. Incidentally, being a geology person, I had traveled almost virtually in all those areas which Shihir Mahajan was mentioning about, and the importance of basically these various different regions. And generally, during the recent time, we have seen what kind of a relation that we have with our neighbors as such. So it was a very exhaustive account of what different area that matter the most to India. In fact, from all sides, basically, there's a problem that we are facing these days, especially there's a great influence of China that he vividly mentioned about on those neighboring countries. And on one side, obviously, the Pakistan that is creating issues. I was part and parcel of basically these particular areas for my geological excursions. And every time I've seen like how the vigilant army basically is taking care of our border part as such. So for me, in fact, it was a very informative and a learning experience. The various different issues that he mentioned about the rules and objectives of the Indian Army and the various different other agencies which to an extent manage the borders or maintain the border as such. And through a very exhaustive sort of a PPT, we could understand about each and every individual region wherein the spectacular work the Indian Army as well as the armed forces are doing. So I'm so excited. In fact, we have a department on the campus, Defense and Strategic Studies, and wherein Shihir Mahajan has been a visiting faculty, and many times, perhaps if not in great detail, because many times I've seen him around and he's been delivering lectures, but for the first time we could get an opportunity to hear him completely, and it was very exciting. I learned a lot during this particular lecture as such. I once again thank basically the Busla Military School for organizing such a wonderful series on account of the 140th birth anniversary of Shri Munje, and all those people who are involved in conducting this particular, I would say, the series, including Shekatkar, through whom actually I got invited. The other people which I could interact, Mr. Vaidya, Mr. Kulkarni, Mr. Ghosh, and Kaule, who has been constantly in contact with me, as well as Belgaonkar. So I'm so happy that I could actually get a wonderful opportunity to listen to such a wonderful exhaustive lecture. So once again, I thank all of you for giving this opportunity, and thank you once again.
Thank you very much, sir. On behalf of Central College, I express thanks to General Shihir Mahajan, sir, SM, VSM, Deputy Director of Center for Advanced Strategic Studies, Pune, for his studied lecture on geostrategy and India's border management in the 21st century. Thank you very much, sir. I also express my sincere gratitude towards Professor Dr. Nitin Ji Karmarkar, sir, Vice Chancellor, Savitribai Phule Pune University, Pune, for sparing his valuable time and accepting as chairperson for today's guest lecture. Your presence has definitely graced the function, sir. Thank you very much, sir. I express sincere thanks to Dr. Dilipji Belgaonkar, who is leading all of us Boslites from front. Besides his busy schedule, he is present for all the lectures before time and working even after it. His leadership has always motivated us to work to a greater extent. Thank you very much, sir. I also express sincere gratitude towards Shri Hemanji Deshpande, sir, who spared a lot of time besides his busy schedule. He supports all at every level. He is always available to the one who needs his support. Thank you very much, sir. I also express my sincere thanks to Shri Milinji Vaidya to be a part of today's lecture. I express sincere thanks to all the society office bearers for all kind of support. I express my sincere thanks to our principal, Dr. U.I. Kulkarni, sir, for his kind support to all of us and motivators. I express my sincere thanks to everyone who have taken efforts to make today's function a grand success. I express my sincere thanks to Media Vidya, who have taken efforts to make this lecture available on different media. I thank all the audience who have been enlightened from various media. I also thank all the print media who have given wide coverage to this lecture series through their newspapers. Thank you very much. Tomorrow, in this series, tomorrow we will have a lecture by Major General Dr. Om Prakash Soni, Vishishta Seva Medal, on the topic Non-Traditional Security Threats and Challenges to India at 7 p.m. on the same link. Thank you all. With this, may I declare that today's function is over.
Yes, thank you, Karmakar sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And Mahajan sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So nice.
General Saab, thanks a lot.
You're welcome, sir. Welcome.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Event organized by you, and so I'll sign out now. Thank you very much.